You've been in it for a decade and a half. You know all about referrals and the asks and all sorts of ways to get clients. It seems like, or you said something like this was the easiest way to offer something of value to someone and have them want to introduce you to their friends.
Yes.
Because it was so
Yes.
valuable. Like the
Yeah,
easiest
I
way to
mentioned
get
that on the-
referrals.
It by far. I mean, I didn't feel like I was asking for a referral at all. To be candid with you, I fully expect to take on each one of these individuals as a client. There's really no doubt. So yeah, it's been awesome. I appreciate you and Ron, putting this together. It's very, very valuable, very valuable. So it's to me kind of a natural offshoot from being a part of the group. There's no way I would have thought of something like this.
Brent, you've been an advisor for 15 years or so. And in the last call that we had on the Academy, you shared that you watched one of the training videos on how to use tools like Vanilla or Wealth to attract referrals. That was one of the one-off training videos that we had in there. And you said you tried it. And I can't remember the number of referrals that came from it, but something happened right away. Can you give us a taste of what happened? Why did you try it? And then what happened after you tried it?
Well, I think, we were on the call and, there was a discussion about just these different tools that are being used that are effective. And Ron talked about Wealth and Vanilla as kind of an estate planning tool. And I had used another company's estate planning tool and it was okay. And actually had a client that used it and they were able to get all of their trust and everything finished through it and which was fine. But, I guess the display and the online tool that you used, it wasn't very elegant. It didn't, kind of go along with what people are used to seeing now when they, download software or use an app on their phone. They're used to seeing really user-friendly, elegant looking software. And, so I never didn't really continue with it. And then during our call, Ron started talking about Vanilla and Wealth and those two. And so I did a little research on both and decided to sign up for Wealth. And I thought, I've got 3 or 4 clients that need this right now. So I wasn't worried about charging them or, making money off of it. Initially, I just felt like this is a value add that I can provide right now. And so I signed up and had a first meeting the first thing I did is I went through and redid all of my own estate planning stuff just so I could become familiar with it. And, our estate planning, my wife and I, we've got 5 children. It's pretty basic. There's not a lot of complexity to it. And so, went through that and did the whole process pretty quickly, had them ship all of the documents to me. And I went through it and just to get a sense of what the client would experience.
Yeah.
And so I, reached out to one of my clients who's also a really good friend. Like he's been a client for almost as long as I've been in the business and, also a close friend. But it's something that he's been wanting to do. And so I said, hey, I've got this new service that I am using. I'd love to help you with it. He was asking for some attorney referrals and I said, let's use this. And I said, I've done it with my own. And so he was all about it. So we went through that process and he's a pharmaceutical drug rep. He's actually like a VP. He's over, an army of reps that are out there working. And so, I've been kind of wanting to drill down into that industry and kind of specialize, if you will, with individuals in that industry. And so we had a good experience. He loved it, loved how straightforward it was. It was almost like he was like, are you sure this is going to work? Like this is going to be my trust? It was so basic and simple, not basic, but it was just so easy for him to use and straightforward that it was, he just couldn't believe, that it was going to provide everything that he needed. And so we went through it. And then during one of our conversations, I said, hey, I'll offer this to really anyone that you think might need it. And I'll do it for free. I kind of disclosed to him what the cost was to me, but I said, it's not about the cost. It's to me, I just want to bring value to my clients and then anyone else that you feel like would appreciate it and would need it. And so immediately he gave me 3 names and he actually gave me more than that, but I had been able to reach out to 3 of them and have been able to set up an appointment. My experience has been with his referrals. Most of them are older kind of professionals. They're in their mid to late 40s, early 50s. The last couple of referrals I've had, each of them have had 3 or 4 401ks that they hadn't rolled over. That's kind of the industry, they kind of bounce around. And so most of them have worked for 3 or 4 different companies. They're high earners. They get a lot of stock options and great benefits usually from the company. And so a lot of them they've got all of these pieces that no one has come and said, hey, let's organize everything and let's create a cohesive plan. And which a lot of them really appreciate, because they just, they're kind of, their business is a lot of hours and it's a lot of information. And it's one of those things where if they can have someone just do that for them, they're happy to do it. They don't want to do it themselves. And so, the 3 individuals that I have reached out to and have set up appointments with, all of them are kind of similar to my current client, who's, has a, really very successful, high net worth for being a guy that's worked in that industry. He's done a lot of good saving. And so I'm looking forward to it. I couldn't believe. And so when Ron mentioned it in the call, I was like, I've done that. I did that exact thing. I introduced it to a client, gave it to him and said, I will provide this for free to anyone who you feel like would be interested. And he immediately gave me several names, and I've been able to secure appointments. I don't know what will come of it.
Right.
But to me, it was just a reminder that, people are looking for just easy, solutions, and they just don't know where to get them. And so to be the person that can say, hey, here you go, I'll provide this to you. They're just so open. And so we'll see where it goes.
It sounds like, I think something you said, it was like the easiest. So again, you've been in it for a decade and a half, all about referrals and the asks and all sorts of ways to get clients. It seems like, or you said something like this was the easiest way to offer something of value to someone and have them want to introduce you to their friends, because it was so valuable. Like the easiest way to get referrals.
It by far. I mean, I've asked for referrals before. A lot of, I've gotten a lot of referrals, but rarely from asking. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I've asked very often for a referral. I just, and so I didn't feel like I was asking for a referral at all. When I offered this, I was saying, I'll provide this to anyone that you think would appreciate it and want to use it. I wasn't saying, hey, I'll give a free financial plan or some, kind of cheesy thing, but it was just, I don't know. It's pretty transactional. I think maybe that's why it's like a hey, let me just give this to you, and whatever comes, that's fine. Where I feel like working with me is not a transactional thing. It's a long-term proposition when, when I'm taking on a new client. And so, maybe that's why it felt just so much easier to just offer this one thing. And if they like it, great. And at least, I've created a touch point with them, and I'm the guy that helped them do this, and we'll see where it goes. To be candid with you, I fully expect to take on each one of these individuals as a client. There's really no doubt. Usually when I've gotten a referral, even unsolicited, it's like, it's such an easier layup. It just accomplishes so much you have to do on the front end that you just don't really have to do anymore. You still want to go through your process and try to build that trust, but it's just a completely different conversation on the front end.
I like that. I like it because of what we already said around you're giving something and you're giving it for free and it's valuable, and you don't have an expectation. You kind of think something will happen, but you're not expecting. There's no catch. If they get something for free and it's valuable to them, that's a win. But that's the best. That's the best way of thinking, because things will come of it. Can you see this turning into kind of like a flywheel concept where it's like, hey, you gave it to one person, he gave 2 or 3 other people, you're going to help them. Could you see doing the same thing with those people? Or do you think it's more of you need some sort of a relationship to offer that, or to tell them that you can help other people too?
I mean, I think that's kind of up to me, I guess. If I want to push it, I personally think just off of wealth.com and my client base right now, because I mentioned it to one of my clients who already has his trust up completed. But the great thing about Wealth is they do a great job. And I'm sure Vanilla does this, and I'm sure there's other services, but just the visualizing your trust and visualizing, you get this document that's this thick, and you hope as a client, I hope it is reflecting what my wishes are. And I'm going to take the attorney's word for that he's done that correctly. Right. Well, now with AI, you can take a trust document, upload it to, I'm sure Vanilla does this, but upload it to Wealth. And then it will provide to you just a really nice visual of exactly what the trust is wanting to accomplish. And so if there's something in there after you see the visual, it's like, wait a second, that's not how I want this to be. I don't want this person to receive that, or I want this to be, set up in this way. It immediately provides that to you. And so I have, like I said, one of my largest clients, he's had his stuff completed. I said, hey, if you don't mind, I have his trust information. I said, hey, if you don't mind, I'd like to put your trust through this and just provide a visual. And he's like, all my clients are pretty close. Like none of them, I could do this with any of my clients. Yeah, go for it, Brent, do it. And so, he said, absolutely. I'd love to see that. I want to see exactly what the visual of it. And so I think there's just such a value to it. So I think just with wealth.com and, for my existing client base, if I reached out to them and said, hey, I got this great service, I'd like to provide to you, if anything, just a visual of what your trust and, those other important essential documents for your estate planning, what they reflect visually, provide this to you. If there's no need to make any change, that's fine. But at least you have that and you can attach it to your trust information. And so, when an event happens where we need to call upon that, the individuals that are involved, myself included, will be able to kind of visually see this is what is supposed to happen. And so to go back to your question, easily, this could be a continual, I could probably work just on this for 6 months and kind of ignore any clients. Just existing clients. And you know what I mean? And so, it's all about like, how much time do you have in the day to do all that? Like, I think I could chase this down and probably see a lot of success. And so, it's kind of up to me on how I want to go forward, but there's no doubt that there's a lot of value and it costs money. There's an upfront cost, but to me, it's not about that. I really feel just from getting these first 3 appointments, it's literally, such a layup, the easiest layup.
Wow. That's cool. That's very cool. Yeah. It seems like it will, again, if it didn't, it's okay, but it seems like it'll pay for itself in a little bit, the way that you're using this.
Yes. And I think also too, like with my, it's like with all your clients, you always want to continually bring value. There's a lot of value on the front end, and you try to continually bring value throughout the relationship at every meeting. And you just, you're trying to, just help them see that, that there's value there in whatever you're providing. And so, with the client that I mentioned it to, just to kind of review his existing stuff, man, he was just like, that's awesome. Absolutely. That's so cool. So like, I don't know, like if you could add that much value for a few $1,000s a year, I think it's, man, well worth it. Well worth it.
That's great. Brent, thanks for sharing your experience and with the group and here. It's, I think it's nice to hear other advisors doing something and finding success. And hopefully it'll uplift these advisors so that they can help their clients in a greater way too.
I would thank you and Ron. I mean, you guys really being part of this group, if anything, it just, I don't know, it cultivates inside of me more thought and more ideas and just better ways to approach. And so yeah, it's been awesome. I appreciate you and Ron, putting this together. It's very, very valuable, very valuable. So it's to me, it's just kind of a natural offshoot from being a part of the group. There's no way I would have thought of something like this. And so, yeah.
That's fantastic. Thanks for saying that. That's why we're doing this to help you and everybody in the group. So, awesome. Thanks, Brent.